Hello and welcome to the PowerSwitch, gaming's call-in talk radio show. My name is Peter Spezia, and today is March 25th, 2017.
And I'm Rachel Spezia. This is the 18th episode of the podcast. Thank you for tuning in.
We use Discord as means to add and drop callers to talk about video games, and switch the power that's found in a typical gaming podcast. You can join our server to participate during recordings at rhymeswithasia.com/call. Rachel, welcome back. Another episode.
I'm taking over.
Yeah, slowly but surely.
Yeah, this is my place now.
I'm quite okay with it.
Just soon, it's just going to be me.
No. And we're doing weekly recordings here on still on twitch.tv/SAS_factory. Thank you for hosting us there.
No, of course.
Trying to do Saturdays at 3 p.m. Eastern now.
And I think from now on, they're going to be followed with me doing some gaming as well.
Yeah,
so.
That'd be great. Certainly. I mean, so we're trying to establish a weekly time that, you know, people from the East Coast of America, the West Coast of America, in Europe and England and whatnot, so that they can all participate at a reasonable time, can expect to tune in at just about the same time. But if you're new to the show, not only do we do these, but we also generally have an episode during the week when game news happens to try to stay current and have people kind of give them a place to talk about games in a up-to-date fashion it's conversational and current. We have another guest this week. Please welcome Jeremy Baker to the show. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good.
It's been a while since we've chatted, and it's been far too long. But if you know Jeremy, he goes by GameBuddy. Jeremy, tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, for those that don't know or those that need a refresher.
Well, I been longtime friends with you guys. Used to hang out on previous channels and shows all the time, and I'm also been involved in a lot of voiceover projects online. Still work with the Sonic Paradox guys, and you can hear me most recently in Read Only Memories, which you can get on the PS4 now.
That is a good game. I remember playing a bit of that when I went to a PAX East in 2016.
It's super cute.
It is, and I can't wait to play some more of it, actually. It's going to be really good.
Now, for those that say like you're in that game, which role do you play?
I actually play Sylvan, who's one of several characters who I guess you wouldn't really call it a mini game, but at one of the dateable characters at a certain point.
Oh, so we can romance you.
Oh yes, and it was really fun, and I'm really attached to that whole game and its aesthetic. It's a super cool, fun project.
So some of the questions I wanted to ask you, I guess it does start with your work with Sonic Paradox. I mean, I would consider you as the internet's Sonic and Dr. Eggman. I mean, that's, no slight against the current voiceovers who work on Sonic Boom and the other Sonic the Hedgehog related projects. But whether it's on Newgrounds or things like that, I mean, that's probably where people know your voice from.
Yeah, I'm just glad that at this point people to just enjoy my performance, because I mean there's so many people that also do Sonic voices and Sonic stuff, and anybody who says, oh yeah, I remember you from that stuff, or oh I like your Sonic and Eggman a lot, that's just like, oh well, I'm glad you liked it. And it's still very much a fun thing to do, especially if I'm performing things that my good friends and collaborators have written for me.
Now what's it like to be in voiceover in the games industry? I mean, for the projects that you have had, what have those experiences been like?
Mine has been interesting because it's non-traditional as far as I'm still very local to where I am, and all of my projects have been online. But a lot of stuff just comes from applying to auditions that are posted, and having my own setup that can produce professional quality recordings. But a lot of that stuff is just putting your nose to the grindstone and practicing and auditioning and improving your craft. And some stuff has literally been just like, hey, so-and-so that you worked before, told me you had a good voice. Will you read these slides for me? And I've been really blessed to like get to know people who have connections and been able to do like quite a few professional projects.
I'm very much envious. I wouldn't mind putting myself out in those kind of roles, but there's only so much you can do when you're used to having one accent.
Yeah, and it's so many different actors say this, and they're 100% right. But voice acting is probably 10% voices and 90% acting. So once you get that down, like people ask, "Oh, well, I can do a funny voice or whatever." And again, I'm not saying anything that literally every actor who's ever been asked that question has is. Well, it's the acting part that's gonna get you far. I wouldn't say it doesn't matter like what kind of voice you have, but if you can act, you're gonna find parts where you fit. Definitely.
That's really good advice.
I think that's a super important part of it. Is don't feel like because you don't have a neutral accent, or even if you have a slight like speech impediment, like if you can act, that voice is going to fit in somewhere.
You definitely hear that a lot on Rob Paulson's Talkin' Tunes. If you're a podcast listener and you're interested to learn more about voiceover and what that's life is like, definitely check out that show.
Yeah, no, I'm going to Midwest Media Expo next month, and I should get a chance to meet Rob, which would be pretty cool.
Oh yeah,
that would be excellent.
I still have the autograph that Luke gave me hanging on my wall from Rob Paulson.
Oh.
Yeah. But we are a gaming podcast at the end of the day, and so I'm curious to know, what games have you been playing recently, Jeremy?
Oh, goodness. You've probably heard this a lot. I've been playing Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
What is that
game? I think last I bothered to look at the little info, it was over 125 hours.
Nice.
Wow.
God almighty. But yeah, I've been playing that for sure. That game is amazing. But I've also been playing, I just started Shovel Knight again on the Switch, because despite being a Kickstarter backer, I have not played through the extra campaigns. So I thought trying it out on the Switch would be a great way to jump into that. And I've also been playing a lot of A Night in the Woods.
I've heard good things about that. What is that one about?
It's kind of hard to peg down. If I had to make a comparison, I'd say it does environmental storytelling a lot like Undertale did, or some like classic point-and-click games. But it has some very light like platforming elements. Like that's how you get around this town. But the basic gist of the story is you play May, this little cat person, because that's also all of the characters are like anthro animals, except it's like a Goofy and Pluto situation, because they're like non-anthro animals running around. Right. But May drops out of college. She comes back to this it's kind of like a middle America, people call it a Rust Belt town, a very small town that's kind of become like dirt poor in the age of modernization. But she comes back and reunites with her friends, and just kind of realizes that she's 20, she's dropped out of college, she doesn't have a job, and things feel different. And there's a little bit of like supernatural aspect to it, but it's one of the few even pieces of media that I think nails that kind of coming of age in your 20s, even early 30s, where it's like you feel like stuck in your adolescence, and especially if you grew up in like such a poor town like this, like stuck in this dead town, like can't afford to go to school, can't afford to move away. And it's some really great storytelling. Some of the definitely some of the best dialogue I think I've ever like experienced in a game.
That's awesome. I hear it really resonating with a lot of people, for sure.
Yeah, like I've actually, this is the third playthrough of it, because there is slightly different dialogue and story bits, but I've actually been replaying it with my little sister, who likes the dialogue and the characters a lot. But yeah, that one's really good. I would definitely encourage just about anybody to try that one out.
I actually would like to give that a go. I was a massive fan of, Undertale when that came out. If it has any kind of similarity to that, I'm probably going to like it a lot.
Yeah, like I said, if I could compare like this new age of independent games that aren't afraid to like tell a story within the gameplay and pull it off really well.
Yeah, that's great. As far as Zelda, what is your progress looking like? How far are you and all that?
I have seen credits once because I got to a point where it's like, okay, I can either grind to build up all of my gear or go for those Korok seeds. But I thought, well, okay, I want to see how the ending plays out. And I actually really like how, I mean, it's not really a spoiler to say after you see credits roll, you see that the end screen. It lets you load up the last save before you enter that point of no return, and it gives you a nice little star saying that you've beaten the game at least once.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I've seen credits. I've done all the shrines and the side quests and all that stuff. And I still feel like there's stuff to do. Like I wanna max out all my equipment just because. And now I'm just waiting to see what that DLC they have coming spring.
I am ashamed of myself.
That'll be really exciting to see what the DLC is like.
Oh man, I am so ashamed of myself for how little I've got achieved in this game.
It's just more progress. Yeah.
It really is, but it's one of those games that you can boot up and like do a little thing like, oh, I came across a boss out in the field and beat it, and like you still accomplish that. Like you got loot from that, and you can put the game down and feel like you did something.
I've only beaten one boss in the wild.
God, and they're everywhere, and they repopulate.
They do?
That's probably one of my favorite things.
Oh boy.
Those bosses are not a one-time thing.
No, I managed to... What was the big rock guy called?
Stone Talus.
Stone Talus. Yeah. I managed to kill a Stone Talus, and that was my only thing on my 4 hearts, and that's it. Nice. Did I even have 4 or did I have 3? No, I had 3.
The first time you stumble across and see that health bar pop up is amazing. Like... that's some Dark Souls shit.
Yeah, yeah.
except just in the world.
Oh my god, I love how similar some of the stuff is to Dark Souls, to be fair, including some of the difficulty of it, which we'll go to in a sec.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I about shit myself when that first Stone Talus came up. I'm not gonna lie. I was just walking along and doing my thing, and then suddenly rocks were starting to move, and I was like, "The fuck is this?"
Yep.
Yeah. I just noped out of that one.
Yeah. I made the loud noises. In fact, the first time I saw one of the dragons, I think they looked a bit like a Bobagia. First time I saw one of those, I was streaming at the time, and I think everyone in the house could hear my surprise when that popped up. Because, oh boy, that came out of nowhere. Yeah, and during a blood moon, too.
Oh, God.
So it was even more creepy.
Oh, the blood moon. Yeah. I'm looking forward to when, hopefully in the next couple weeks, we can schedule a spoiler cast for Breath of the Wild, because we're coming up on that time. It needs to be done. People want to talk about this game for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about, surprisingly, especially with the first one that has like more than 2 lines of dialogue voiced.
Right.
Yeah.
I love the dialogue actually in this game.
Again, without going into too many spoilers, because I think people should experience it, I'm actually pretty happy with the localization as on the whole. Like, I've seen people just argue some of the voices are flat, and I'm not gonna pick on that, but I really enjoy the localized dialogue. Like, I was afraid Nintendo would make it kind of maybe a little dry just because they wanted to play it safe, and instead it actually reminds me a lot of the translation of Fire Emblem Awakening, where they had an understanding of, here's all of these characters, here's this situation, and we need to make it resonate with an audience who does not have any knowledge of Japanese or whatever. I really like it as an adaptation. I think they nail the tone of a lot of things really well.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. It makes me think of, I'm currently playing Mass Effect Andromeda, and the script has its problems at points. Some of the conversations, and on the whole, I think they're mostly good. But you get these occasional scenes where it's like, what were you thinking?
Yeah, there's definitely some questionable decisions in there.
I've seen some of those, and I almost think it's worse when you have a writer. And for games, I'm sure it's so weird, especially a game that big. You probably have multiple people writing scenarios and then dialogue. And I think it's almost worse when you have a weird, like, out of place line that you just think, was that some producer that came in there and said, "Oh, put this phrase in. The kids are saying that all the time."
I just want to get one of the Asari to come up and say, "Yo, writer, it's lit fam."
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be silly. And it doesn't help that when it's the male writer, I almost get the feeling that they wanted to hire Nolan North, but then they just didn't have the budget to. Because, man, it's so many times it's like, oh, hi, Nathan Drake. It's a little eerie.
That's funny.
We were just informed as well that apparently male writer was voiced by Octodad.
Yes, he was.
Wow.
I would kind of want to see male writer rolling on the floor and going. Bloop, 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 bloop.
No, I just want Octodad's dialogue in there.
From what I've seen from some of the walking animations in Andromeda, it's not too far off.
Yeah,
no, that's more like a gorilla kind of making its way downtown. Oh boy! So let's talk about playing games on easier difficulties. That's kind of our main topic of the show here. I think it's something that changes perhaps as you get older. But a lot of people, when you talk about I'm going to play this game on easy or on the easiest difficulty, I think there's a stigma when it's attached to that. Now, Jeremy, where do you kind of lie on this spectrum here?
I think it's become more legitimized because games are so different. Like you said, when you're older, I remember as a kid, it was kind of like the thing I wouldn't tell anybody. Like, oh yeah, I beat that game, on the easiest. Now I think I'm more inclined to look up what the differences are in different difficulties, because some, speaking of Nolan North, Naughty Dog, I think has some of the best difficulty scaling, at least from what I played in the Last of Us.
Yeah,
I think that's one of the only games where I completed it at least once on every difficulty, including Grounded, just because it was so just because
so
it was
hard.
it was so well balanced in the game actually expected you to think differently. A lot of difficulties are just, okay, we doubled enemy health and there's twice as many. And that's usually not fun for me. Like a lot of first-person shooters do that. I remember the last time I changed the difficulty mid-playthrough was the new Wolfenstein, The New Order.
Yeah.
Where I'd played through all the way. I think it was normal, or their equivalent of normal. Didn't have too much trouble. I really liked that challenge. And then I got to the last boss, and it just felt cheap as hell. Like, okay, this is not fun. I'm dying in 2 hits. And so I put it on the easiest difficulty and beat it there. And didn't really feel like I'd done myself a disservice. I just think the balancing failed right there. But I think playing games on easy, especially if you don't have a lot of time, if you just want to experience it, or if it's something where some game recently had a puzzle setting to where you could set the difficulty of the puzzles versus the combat.
That sounds like a Danganronpa thing.
Yeah,
I think that was it. And especially something like Danganronpa, which is in the bare bones, like a visual novel. If you just want to experience the content, and are not interested in stuff like that, just turn that off. I never think more options are a bad thing. I guess about the only weird feelings I have is I've seen this come up talking about the Dark Souls series. And I don't think, even as somebody I don't consider myself very good at video games, even if I accomplish things in them. But I don't think Dark Souls would benefit from an easy mode.
Oh, hell no, definitely not.
The Dark Souls games are more different than they are difficult. They're so not anything you've ever played before unless you're familiar with them, that it's not that they're super hard, it's that they require you to think about things so much more than you usually would in like an action adventure game.
Yes.
As much as a lot of people use it to be assholes, the get good mentality of Dark Souls is actually, I think, is legitimate advice. Dark Souls, it wants you to throw yourself at it over and over until you are learning something and getting good from it. So yeah, I think some games like that are carefully balanced in its difficulty with different stuff. Yeah, I don't think that would Dark Souls or stuff like that would benefit from an easy mode unless something is like super broken. But no, I like difficulty modes. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with beating something on easy if that's the only way you can do it. Like not everybody is going to have that same level of skill. And you know, to get a little real about it, like not everybody's going to have the physical capability. Like if you have like a physical disability or something like that.
Yeah, like cerebral palsy or something, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that might be the only way they can experience it at all.
But also, that's not the only thing that comes into it either, because if you think about it, you know, us people, we're not exactly getting any younger. And we have adult responsibilities now. We have to go to work, and we have to support ourselves, and we have to, if you're weird like me, go work out in the mornings. So I probably get around about a spare 2, maybe 2.5 hours a day during weekdays to do whatever I want, and I spend most of that time getting ready for the next day. So it's kind of like I find hardly any time now to play video games, which is a pain in the butt. So if I am going to play something on a harder difficulty, it's going to take me longer, and it's going to take me a lot longer to get through the whole experience. So I might put it down just to, you know, get to experience it more within, you know, my short space of personal time available.
Yeah, it's all about budgeting that time, especially as an adult. And, you know, if you're passionate about games, it's really, I think it's based on what you want to get out of games. If you prefer something like the story versus if the challenge is really appealing to you. You know, so that's just a personal choice. It's a personal basis. And when it comes to finding the time for that, you know, I'm at a point where I'm playing games on easier difficulties now, mostly because I don't want to hit those sticking points. I want to get the feel of the combat, certainly, but I don't want to get bogged down in the frustration and the dying and over and over and over. Like, the challenge isn't rewarding to me, especially when I want to try playing different games. And yeah, if I had time as a teenager just to sit and, you know, play the crap out of one game, because, you know, also money plays a part into it, like how many games you can afford. If you're, you know, your parents are just giving you one game for the next couple months and you're going to devote time to that, then yeah, you're going to play maybe even all the difficulties. Yeah,
there's only one game I really would not do that on, and that would be Halo. Halo, I always like to try and experience that on at least Heroic. Yeah. At least. I have not yet played through 5. I'm terrible, but all the other ones I've played through and done on Legendary.
Yeah. I remember friends of mine co-oping Legendary mode and just talking about how it's such a, like, it's almost like a cinematic experience because you're overcoming this rebalanced challenge together.
Yeah, try doing Halo 3, the last mission with 4 people, and you're trying to escape the blowing up Halo ring at the same time, and people are falling down, and you have Iron Skull on at the same time. That makes for a very long but funny journey. Oh boy.
But yeah, I mean, for Mass Effect Andromeda, to bring that back as an example, I mean, playing that on an easier difficulty right now, I don't want to get bogged down by the combat. It's actually nice to, I think the exploration and the fluidity of the movement is what's probably the most rewarding in that game. You're not, you know, down corridors, you're not sticking to cover like a Unreal Engine third-person shooter from last generation, but you have the fluidity of the movement in the world, but you're also, you know, not being just, you know, throwing bullets after bullet after bullet and powers after these enemies. Like, you're cutting through them pretty cleanly, but it means you're keeping moving. You know, the time is at a premium.
Is that how bullets work? You throw them?
Yeah.
You're just gonna throw some bullets at you? My gun's just for show. I'm sorry, my gun doesn't work. I gotta throw these at you.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some kind of like future space telekinesis that does that.
Yeah. Biotics and tech. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it's it is really interesting, dichotomy. I mean, some people could, even our Discord chat, someone threw out, it's just like, oh, today Weenie Hut Juniors, and it's like, well, it depends on the spare time that you have and what you get out of games.
I think there can be some playful ribbing of, especially if you're complaining about the difficulty because you don't understand like a game mechanic, and like I'm not above poking fun at that, but I absolutely hate it when people treat it like seriously, like just a dick measuring contest of well I beat this in X amount of time with no health and blah blah blah. Like, do that if that stuff is fun, but like nobody gives a shit if you're just doing it to be like a douche. Right.
And as far as something like trophies are concerned, I like seeing the trend that it seems like more games recently have just given like an achievement or trophy for just beating the game on any difficulty. And then, if you want to say, on the hardest or one of the harder difficulties, a separate one for that, sure, fine. But there used to be times when games were just like, on normal difficulty, on easy difficulty, on hard difficulty. And it's like, well, you're showing that. I mean, just show that I've beaten the game. Like, that's fine. And then if you want to take that extra challenge, and that's, if you find a game that resonates with you, you talked about this last time, Rachel, with Mass Effect. Like, if you want to play on another playthrough, there's where you can step up the difficulty if you so choose.
Yep.
Or like with Halo, again, going back to that very quickly, if you beat it on a higher difficulty, it would also unlock your achievements for the lower difficulties if you hadn't played them on those difficulties.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Man, that would be another great subject for probably a whole show. Is I love good achievement and trophy design that like pushes you to play the game in like a completely different way that you wouldn't even think of. I love doing that. If I look at the trophy list and it all seems like reasonably achievable, I will dedicate time to 100%ing those, just because they do that. Like, I never would have thought to complete that goal in a normal playthrough, and that adds so much fun to me with certain games.
Yeah, seeing that a lot with, I think, Horizon Zero Dawn. A lot of people are getting the Platinum Trophy there on PS4 because it seems like it's not really an easy Platinum per se, but a rewarding one. A lot of people are really enjoying that trophy list, and that's a good example there.
I'm missing out on a lot of games, aren't I?
A lot of us are. I think once Persona 5 hits, I'm gonna be swamped.
Woo! I'm missing out on games to get sweet gains.
There you go. There's your different type of get good.
What a happy conundrum to have so many good games out there that you have an embarrassment of choices.
It's been a very good start to 2017, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just gonna I've lost both the boys in my house to Mass Effect, which is, they're having fun, it's fine. And now I'm gonna lose my husband to Persona 5 when that comes out, which is when?
April 4th.
Oh boy.
Oof.
Also when Use Your Words from Brental Floss has also just got the release date announced today.
That is true.
So that's on that day. Parappa Rappa HD is also on April 4th. Ukulele is on April 11th.
Yeah, Ukulele I want to play. However, I don't know if it's worth getting the re-release of Parappa Rappa since it's the same bloody game.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I love the game. I love it. But I may as well just buy the old version.
I hope that's at least a good port. As far as I played the demo and the button seemed a little off. Cause I've always liked Parappa the character. I've never been able to play the games. I really wish they would put out Jammer Lammy.
I loved Jammer Lammy. Oh my god, someone else has played Jammer Lammy.
There you go.
Oh my god.
I've experienced a lot of the music, and I actually just listened to a retrospective on the Retronauts podcast. It's a really great podcast where they talked about the whole series, and I realized that I've heard probably 90% of the Lammy soundtrack like out of context, and just like, wow, this is a really good song, and then find out it's all in this game, and it has such great characters and designs.
Yeah.
I love those games. I would really like the opportunity to play them like on modern hardware.
Yeah, so would I.
You know, even if it is like a bare bone upscale release, as long as it works, I'd like more people to have access to those games.
Maybe you'll get a kick out of it then that when Rachel introduced me to Jammerlammy, it was with the baby song, the mama mama.
Oh god, I love that one. Those vocals are so good.
I tortured him, and then it got stuck in his head, and he'll still bring it up from time to time.
Yeah, like I did just now.
Oh man, that one is so good. Yeah, everybody go look up at least the soundtrack for Jammerlammy.
Yes, Jammerlammy is. Oh, it was fantastic. I want to play that now. Oh my gosh.
Well, that's what we have to say. When we come back, we'll get to the callers. What do you think? We'd love to hear your thoughts, but you can also bring up whatever gaming topic that you'd like to discuss. And don't forget, you can also reply to another caller had to say too. That's all when we come back here on the Power Switch. Welcome back to the Power Switch. Now, Jeremy, you were mentioning during the break, the Splatoon 2 test fire is active this week, and you played a little bit of it.
Yeah, it's. I mean, if you played Splatoon on the Wii U, it's definitely feels similar. But just at a cursory glance, there are a lot of differences. It seems like characters handle a little differently, but to be a little more shallow, it's very pretty, and I love all the new cute hairstyles you can give your Inkling.
That's always important.
I never played Splatoon.
Yeah,
I probably should give it a go at some point.
Yeah,
it's definitely one of those things, almost like Breath of the Wild. Like I think Splatoon was a preview of things you would never expect Nintendo to be able to do correctly. A third person, like almost Call of Duty team-based shooter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
All right, but let's get to the callers here. We got a couple of people ready to talk to you about Nintendo and also games on easy mode, so looking forward to that here. Joining us from Illinois, Video Game Guru 64. Welcome back to the Power Switch.
Glad to be back.
Yeah, what do you have on your mind? What would you like to talk about today?
I like to talk about Zelda, and more Zelda. And,
all right.
And games I've been playing on the Switch.
Okay, I like the diversity of subject matter here. All right.
Yeah.
Well, because like the last 3-4 podcasts that you did, I couldn't be on because I was doing something else.
Mm-hmm.
So
probably playing Zelda.
Yeah,
playing Zelda. No, actually, I was going to my local gaming tournament place and playing Pokemon.
So what is it about Zelda that you've been enjoying?
I've been enjoying the exploration and the discovery of places that you've never been and you would like to go to, and you can go to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you can see it, you can go there.
Yeah, except where you can't go there and it blocks you off from the edge of the map. But yeah.
I definitely hit that point, I think, is in the southwest corner of the map, like the Gerudo Mountains kind of area. I definitely hit that point where it's like, you can't go any farther. Like, oh, okay. It's like that, huh?
It's like, why can't it just loop back around on each other? But yeah, I don't know.
Because the Earth is flat.
No, because Hyrule is flat. Because it's only one state in a bigger world, and you can't explore that world.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I was comparing the size of the world of Hyrule in this game to the size of Hyrule in Ocarina of Time recently.
Oh, man.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's just not even close.
Almost no comparison.
No, there is none.
Yeah, man, there's so much good stuff to Zelda. I mean, how far, what kind of time have you put into it, and where are you with the game?
I've put in 145 hours.
Wow.
Oh my god.
I've beaten the game too, so...
Yeah.
But yeah, I put in a lot of time. There's a lot of content in that game. Yeah.
There's a
and
ton.
I haven't even completed all the side quests either, not like Jomi has. So
Mhm.
Yeah, and I still feel like I'm not done.
yeah, Exactly. When I beat the game, I'm like, oh, I can move on to the next game. No, I want to keep exploring that game.
Yep.
But I have played some other games on the Switch. I've played Blaster Master Zero, which is really fun. If you haven't played the Blaster Master games, they're like Metroid.
Yeah.
Like Super Metroid, so...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've been hearing good things about Blaster Master Zero. It's getting some good reviews. Yeah, you also have, Shovel Knight, Treasure Trove, Spectre Knight has been getting a lot of good reviews as well.
I haven't picked up Shovel Knight just because I picked up on my Wii U, and I don't usually double dip on games.
Yeah.
So.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. How many versions of Binding of Isaac do I currently own?
Quite a lot. And then we also have quite a few versions of Danganronpa as well.
That's true.
There's that. We tried Snipper Clips and really liked that. That was some good fun.
It was alright.
Yeah, I picked up Snipper Clips, and I also picked up I Am Setsuna because I don't have a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One.
Mm-hmm.
So
that one's on my list to try. That one looks like a lot of fun.
A lot of Chrono Trigger influences. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I also picked up Voy, the VOEZ.
Voez,
Yeah.
I think it was originally like a Japanese rhythm game, but that was one of the ones that was around the controversy where it's only playable on the Switch. It doesn't have the TV mode, and so people were freaking out. They're like, "Oh, Switch is only they're gonna get these bad tablet ports," and it's like, well, not necessarily, but
Maybe.
Not necessarily. And it plays good on the Switch. Like I probably mostly use it like to work out.
Oh, okay, yeah.
When I'm running on the treadmill, I can put it in tablet mode and just tap the screen, and that's
a good idea, actually.
That's great.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite things to do, was to prop either my phone or something up on the treadmill.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Mm.
What else? Oh, I've been playing Splatoon 2. Little test fire.
Yeah.
I feel like the colors are more vibrant than Splatoon 1.
Mm.
I'm really liking to see the different articles on different game websites where they're saying just like, I had my reservations at first with Switch when we were reviewing it, but now it's like, I want to play Mass Effect Andromeda on Switch. I want to play Persona 5 on Switch.
I want to play Skyrim on Switch.
Yeah, it's like, I want to take it everywhere and play everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I just saw I think it was Nick Robinson on Twitter said, sure wish I could play more Mass Effect on my airplane, but it's not on the Switch. Why can't it just be on the Switch?
So I think Nintendo's got a good thing going, and you're seeing a lot of the the stocks are continuing in stores to say like, oh, they're coming out on this day and they're gone quickly. I mean, Amazon Prime had one up for Prime members, and within 25-30 minutes they were gone. So
it's like the NES Classic all over again.
Yeah, that's one thing I don't like about Nintendo. I hate how Nintendo do this supply and demand shit. Mm-hmm. I really do, because they know how many people are gonna want their stuff, and yet they're just like, they're giving us like the tiniest little stream of piss.
Yeah.
I bet they're playing it safe. I just hope it doesn't come back to bite them as far as like, expecting, all of the ones they first, pre-ordered sold. Well, that was because you only put out 2 million, and then they're, expecting to do renumbers, and it might not be there.
They don't want people to lose interest because of little stock, but they don't want to inundate it, and then you have the oversupply.
Yeah.
So
right. But for example, Jim Sterling from the Jimquisition talked about like going down to his local Target store to pick up like a NES Classic or something like that, and apparently they only had delivered like a handful, like literally a handful of NES Classics, and they have just been the hardest thing to fucking get a hold of.
Well, yeah, I mean the NES Classic, I can see the comparison similarities, but it's a boutique item, and it was for the holiday season, and they wanted to be that one toy. Yeah. But this is their franchise and their hardware moving forward. Like, so I can see the manufactured scarcity, and we saw that with Wii.
Right.
I don't think they expected Wii to take off as much as it did. But it's important to continue that stock, and it's good to see it continue to sell. It shows that there at least is still some demand there.
Yeah.
Especially when you talk about the whole balance of, the game developers want the established audience on the platform before they bring the things. Oh, that reminds me with the Capcom story of how they talked before the Switch. Apparently, Switch is going to have like 2 gigabytes of RAM at the before its launch, but then they talked to Capcom and they're like, no, we want 4, and they're like, oh.
Please.
Yeah, 4 is probably a good idea, and it's like, thank goodness they did, because then there's talk of wanting to move the RE engine in a lower resolution over to, then that would be good for future games. But oh man, if you launch Nintendo Switch with 2 gigs of RAM, like it's dead on arrival. But at least 4 gives it some life.
It only has 4.
At least it can be somewhat competitive, because I mean I'm not expecting it to be like a dominant third-party platform, but what I would much rather see, and I've seen a lot of people talking about this, I would much rather it be the PlayStation Vita except with support.
Right.
As far as like how many great, like smaller, really well-designed experiences appeared on that console. It's just, everybody but Sony was making games for the Vita eventually.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So Mid-Boss, get on 2064.
Yes, definitely.
To get back to the main topic, easy difficulty and whatnot, I have a disability. My whole right side of my body is paralyzed and doesn't work correctly. So I only have one hand to work with. So whenever you have like an easy mode, or you can have a controller that works with my hand, like the Pro controller or something like that, that always helps for me.
Dude, that's amazing that you can put in that much time with Zelda for the complexity of the control. Like that's amazing.
Yeah.
Seriously.
It's over like 2-3 weeks, so.
well, still, I mean, but that's remarkable, and kudos to you. I mean, and I've been seeing different stories of how game developers. Naughty Dog was an example. They came out with a video around Uncharted 4, which just it takes knowledge of these different disabilities to make game developers aware and what they can do, whether it's color blindness or remapping buttons. Like it should be an option for every game, just to make certain things more accessible than others. And I think the game industry is getting better as a whole with that, but there's still a ways to go. But man, like kudos to you. Like that's amazing that you still maintain gaming as your passion.
Yeah, that's really commendable.
Yeah. The one thing I didn't like about the Wii U is its huge controller and how it's the main controller and you can't get past that.
Yeah,
right.
no.
Yeah. It's a large tablet that
it's a pretty big thing.
To hold.
And only certain games, have the Pro controller functionality. And,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I couldn't get really into like Zombie U or other games that basically only use the tablet for the base functionality. So that's, I think, the main reason why the Wii U failed.
Maybe one of them, yeah.
It was constrained to that tablet, and if they would have come out with a more form-fitting tablet type device, like maybe like a fold-in thing like the Game Boy Advance SP, like that, maybe it would have done better, but they never did that. So
it seems like one of those situations where, like, okay, you're designing this thing. Did you ever bother to have someone who, has problem holding things for long periods of time touch it?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's interesting to see, like, how basic that stuff is. Like, oh, yeah, of course, we put this feature in here because not everyone might be able to play it the same way. And also to see the companies that just straight up never think that stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's all simple ergonomics. Well, Video Game Guru 64, thank you so much for sharing your story. Where can people find you on the internet?
People can find me on the internet by searching Video Game Guru 64 pretty much everywhere.
Well, man, thank you so much for calling in. Really appreciate the time. You have a good night, all right?
Yep, bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
And joining us from Colorado, ZeroRanma. Welcome back to the PowerSwitch.
Yep. Good to be back.
Good to be back indeed.
Hello.
What would you like to talk about today?
All right, so you brought up easy mode and how, well, we as gamers really don't have the time, so we play easy mode.
Mm-hmm.
Easy mode is not a bad thing. The one condition of where an easy mode is a really bad thing, in my opinion, is Fire Emblem Fates. Do you remember Phoenix mode?
I am aware of Phoenix mode. That almost did kind of defeat the entire point.
Yeah.
But for something like, for Conquest, though, like that got to be really difficult from what I hear. And
yeah, Conquest was basically balanced around casual mode. And yeah, Phoenix mode, that's if you really lack the patience to just enjoy the game.
I guess for those that don't remember, what is Phoenix mode? How would you describe
Phoenix
it?
mode is the moment any unit of yours dies, the very next turn they'll come back to life.
Huh.
And in Fire Emblem, there's also casual mode where if your unit dies at the end of the map, they'll still be alive.
Yeah, but they disappear for the rest of that round, that battle,
that map, which is an important consequence because when they come back from Phoenix mode, they come back with like full health and everything.
Oh my gosh.
That's broken.
There's no consequences to it. Casual mode is already easy enough. Like we were grateful when they added that to the Fire Emblem series through like Awakening and the one on the DS before that. I don't remember the one that Japan only got. But yeah, casual mode was meant to help the casuals. That's
like me.
Filthy casual.
The people who didn't want to constantly reload to make sure their unit survived.
Yeah, I love Fire Emblem for the setting, the story, and the characters. I'm really bad at the strategy element, so I'm pretty sure. Now that I think about it, I don't think I used Phoenix mode in whatever version I had. Because that really does seem like there's no point. Like you're already not really losing anyone, so like you don't have to worry about the story consequences. But then for the next turn, it's just like, oh, okay.
You can basically just breeze through the map with no issue.
Like at that point, why not just add like a visual novel mode that takes out the combat?
Yeah, and that's an example. Like it fundamentally changes the gameplay. I mean, when I generally like playing on easier modes, like I still want the sense of the type of gameplay that you're going through, all the different mechanics that are at work.
Experience, not like
and it's taking that sense of accomplishment away from you.
Yeah, and a game that I was thinking about that really does difficulty switches well are some of the more recent Tales games, like Berseria, for instance. I was playing that recently, and you can switch the difficulty at any point in time between like the easiest and the hardest. But with the hardest, while the battles are definitely more difficult, you get better rewards for doing it.
See, I like that.
Yeah, like you get better items from battles and stuff like that.
I really like that because it incentivizes you to become more proficient at the game.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, for Persona 5 coming up, I know you're a big Persona 5 fan.
Oh, boy. Mm-hmm.
Like, what kind of difficulty do you normally go with those games? Because for Persona 4, I mean, I love that game, probably one of my favorites of all time, but the dungeons are notoriously just brutal. Like, you make so much progress, and then you come across one enemy, and you're screwed. Like, you're losing all that save progress. So
yeah, the Shin Megami Tensei games are ruthless with their difficulties. So for a first playthrough, I'm probably going to go on like the easiest difficulty just to go through the game, experience it at my own pace. Then, on subsequent playthroughs, I'll amp up the difficulty a bit.
Yeah, I think there's no shame in going like a beginner difficulty, especially if it's your first Persona. Jeez, yeah.
Yeah, because with Persona, it's like, well, difficulty affects not only the battle difficulty, but how much experience and money you gain. And that's just like, at this point, I'm not really playing it for to experience it. I'm playing just grinding out money and stuff. I'm spending longer in these dungeons just for that.
Right.
Yeah.
See, whilst I lose you to Persona 5 when that comes out in about a week or so's time, I probably should be... Okay, I have so many
It's
games to
almost
play.
a week. Holy shit.
I have so many games to play. 10 more days until you can just play that to your heart's content. And...
I'm just hoping GameStop will open up on... Just let it loose on the night before. They did that with a bunch of games lately. Like, they said, yeah, come in like 8 or 9 o'clock before we close, and we'll just sell it to you. No problem.
I don't know. I got the collector's edition coming in through Amazon.
Oh,
So.
yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I should really actually play through some of the previous Persona games because you play them, your brother plays them, and I feel like I'm missing out on a lot of fun stuff by not playing the Persona games.
I think you'd really enjoy them. Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah. If I had to say, at least play 4 since it's the most recent and most
Peter, you
modern
got it,
sensibilities.
Right? Peter, you got a Vita, right? You can.
We got PlayStation TV. That's the best way to play it. Yeah.
Yeah. So have her play Golden. Golden is probably the definitive experience.
Yeah, so I
love
should
that
probably.
game.
My extent of my knowledge for Persona 4 comes from the Hi, I'm Daisy comic dubs. Of all things.
Probably one of the best things created on the internet.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
You can't cook, you won't get naked, what are you even good for?
Well, she's got a point.
She has a great comic now too.
That's right.
Cucumber Quest.
Yes.
Oh man, that is such a good comic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Are there any games that you think that you would like to see have an easy mode?
Breath of the Wild.
No, that's it's like the Dark Souls experience again. You have to get good.
I'm garbage. So
I think Breath of the Wild is really well balanced once you get the hang of it, but I totally could see someone.
Like, I don't own the Switch. I play on my cousin's Switch whenever she comes over, and that means I get like 2 hours of playtime.
Yeah.
Every time, that's like after a span of a few days, so I've already lost control of how I'm playing.
Yeah.
And the last time she forgot to even bring the actual like controller dock things, so I had to have both Joy-Cons in 2 separate hands, and I'm just like trying to aim.
Well, that's like splay out on the couch style there. Like, I think Nintendo actually does that kind of well. Maybe not as overt as like the super guides have been, but I don't know. They do really good writing those tips on the loading screens too. That's for sure.
That's a good point.
That taught me so many things. I was like, I didn't even know that was possible.
Yeah, the super guides. I totally forgot about that, but that was quite the thing when they came out with that, and I think we used that a couple times in Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze because that was a difficult game. Yeah.
It was?
And for the most part, they were 100% ignorable too. Like, I think they put them in was it Skyward Sword had a few, and I don't think I ever even visited the guide that gives them to you.
Skyward Sword could have used a couple during some of the the Silent Guardian realm.
That is a game I missed out on.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend those were fun. They were unbearable, but having to do them again from the beginning when you mess up was bad.
So stressful, so stressful. But the soundtrack goes with that. That was amazing.
I've never beaten any 3D Zelda game, so I'm probably definitely not gonna be. I'm horrible because I am kind of like a completionist where I want to get all the collectibles and all that stuff before I beat a game.
That'll eat up your life, that's for sure.
And with this game and its 900 Korok seeds, 120 shrines, I'm just like,
oh my days.
I'm going to be playing this till the end of time.
And how many towers are there?
Oh, there's only like 12, 13, something.
Yeah, one for every region.
For you to open up the whole map.
I accidentally came across a tower which was surrounded by guardians at one point.
Yep.
While still only having 3 hearts. I still managed to make it to the top.
Nice.
I managed to make it, and I was dodging like a good one.
There are a couple tricky ones near the end. Like, you have to knock over a tower to kind of create a ramp up to it. And then another, you have to, get up to a high point and then glide over to it to kind of catch it midway. So, like, there are a couple that are tricky. You have to burn thorn bushes around one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, those are some really great moments when you figure something out and you're not 100% sure if that was the way they intended, but then you're like, who cares? I did it.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, I don't want to do it this way. I want to do it another way. And if you can do it that other way, then you still feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
So ZeroRanma, people can find you on the internet at that Twitter account. Anything else you'd like to plug?
No, not really. If you want to find me, just look up at ZeroRanma anywhere. Odds are it's me.
There you go.
I think I have like a monopoly on that name now.
That's the key on today's internet.
Good SEO. Good
There
SEO.
you go.
There you go.
Well, thanks so much for calling in. Really appreciate the time.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
All right, everyone, thanks for calling in. When we come back, we'll talk with Jeremy about his top 5 favorite games of all time, which titles have shaped his gaming experience. You won't want to miss it when we come back here on the Power Switch. Welcome back to the Power Switch. We've got Jeremy Baker here. Thank you so much for joining us so far, Jeremy. It's really been a delight. But I really would like to hear about your favorite games of all time. I asked you to come up with a list of 5. I know it's a difficult process to do, but what are some of the games that have shaped your experience over time?
Okay, so I love games. I love my experiences with games. So it's almost like it's such a cliche to say, oh, it's like picking a favorite child. But I think I could narrow it down to games that like shaped like my tastes to this day. In no particular order, Super Mario World. That's a game that almost all of these are games that I will take time out of usually every year and sit down and just replay them 100%. Super Mario World was probably my first exposure to something that wasn't just a get from point A to point B in a set time period. Super Mario World was so open and had like so many different choices and expanded upon like everything that Mario 3 did in a really great way. And I think that game holds up from just about every aspect, design and sound, like to this day. Like Super Mario World is super, super good.
Yeah, it's definitely an all-time classic, yeah.
Staying in kind of the same wheelhouse, Mario 64 is another one that I grew up with a lot of Nintendo and Sega stuff, and so Mario 64 was my first like 3D game, and like Mario World was to like the original Super Mario. It just opened up a whole new dimension of, okay, I'm controlling this character in these spaces and I see something to go do over there and I'm not on rails and you have a vague goal to accomplish, but I grabbed the star out of order and stuff like that. And that made playing games like Ocarina of Time or even, later 3D games on the Dreamcast and the GameCube, like it prepared me and opened me up to like just that concept of this is what a 3D like platforming action game is. And I still love going back to Mario 64, sometimes just to run around because you have so much control over like all of Mario's goofy little acrobatics.
Yeah, I find myself going back to that game now and then too, and just sort of like maybe doing the first few worlds, and then after the first few worlds, I don't want to play anymore. You
did a what was like a 50 heart or not 50 a 50 star
hearts?
Yeah, 50 star run. You can tell how much experience I have with that game.
There you go. Yeah, I did a 50-star run just because if you want to do the official way, you get 70 stars, so you can go through Bowser's Last Door. And I finally learned how to do the jumping, the backwards long jump up the stairs.
Yeah. That's another great thing about Mario 64 and World is there is such a, like to this day, such an active like speed running and like tool assisted running and modding community on those. And even if you're not super interested in that stuff, sometimes it's great just to look up like awesome games done quick or stuff like that to see that decades later people are still finding new ways to break these games apart. And that's why I like those. A special mention to not officially on the list, but Mario Galaxy for sure. for having a lot of that same feeling of, this is such a new, different thing in the same light as Mario 64. I hope Mario Odyssey continues that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Galaxy was my first 3D Mario. What a one to start with.
Really?
But that's a great game.
Me and you grew up very differently. It sounds like Jeremy here has actually grown up similar to me, where we had access to consoles at least growing up. So, my first experience was on the Master System, the Sega Master System. Things like Sonic the Hedgehog, Alex Kidd, Donald Duck's Lucky Dime Caper, which no one else has ever played. I want someone to come up to me about that game.
Yeah, I think my parents actually found me an NES when I was 3 years old. Found it at a garage sale. And this is when NESs were still being manufactured.
Wow.
And yeah, so Mario Brothers was my first game when I was 3.5, I think. But
nice.
I also grew up with a Sega Genesis. So we've already talked about that before, but of course I like me some Sonic games.
Yep.
And I think it's really hard to choose between the classic Sonic games, but I think Sonic 3 and Knuckles is my big favorite.
So that was definitely a good game.
Yeah, and it's almost cheating because Sonic 3 and Knuckles is one huge game, and you had the lock on, and but I like Sonic 2 a lot as well. I think I enjoy the design, and a weird thing to say, but the environmental storytelling of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, in addition to the the level design and the physics and all the other characters itself. I remember that was one of the few times I played these games that the story was usually either told in a text crawl or very, very basic frozen screenshots. And when Sonic and Tails swoop down on Angel Island and Knuckles knocks the Chaos Emeralds out of him, that told a story to me that was was interesting to follow.
I was actually going to ask you what your opinion on Sonic Spinball was.
I think I may have rented Spinball for my Genesis, my Mega Drive, and I couldn't get into it. I think I played it more. I think I played it more when it was on the Sonic Mega Collection. I totally get why people really like it. I think at the time I was like, okay, this has Sonic on it, but it's not anything like Sonic.
I get what you mean there.
Yeah. So I don't dislike it. I've never beat it. I've seen people beat it. I'm like, that's crazy.
I beat it once.
I remember spending an hour on the first level and getting the Chaos Emeralds and making it to the second level and being like, oh my god, I can't do this.
Yeah, everything changed.
I did. Even to this day, I like all the weird Saturday morning Sonic references for no reason.
That was pretty much my experience too, with only getting so far because it was on Mega Collection on GameCube, and it's just it's something. It's okay.
I experienced it back in the day on my Mega Drive.
There you go.
That's what we called a Genesis, as you know. Yeah.
I think, again, staying within the Sonic wheelhouse, I think my favorite modern Sonic game is still Sonic Colors. I don't know what it was specifically about that game, other than it kind of ushered in a you had the similar level design in Sonic Unleashed, but something about Sonic Colors, just whole design aesthetic with the really bright primary shiny neon, and kind of ushered in the kind of the more lighthearted, Sonic actually has a personality and cracks jokes and blah blah blah. And I love Generations as well, but I think some of the 2D classic Sonic sections kind of not fall flat, but just kind of take away from the whole experience. And I think Sonic Colors kept that in check. So that one has a real special place in my heart.
Sonic Colors is super fun. Yeah, really good memories with that. And I think that was the first game where it's this is a 3D Sonic where it's actually legit good. Yeah,
and it feels like it knows what it wanted to do from start to finish. Even all the extra little missions and all the collectibles, and nothing really felt okay, well, they threw this in to make the game longer. And really great music. I love that. I love that announcer. Good, great, awesome, fantastic.
Yes,
I love that guy so much.
And Planet Wisp is like the standout track.
I feel like I'm the odd one out over here because I enjoyed games like Sonic Heroes. So
Sonic Heroes.
Those
that one.
You won't catch me saying I don't and love those games because I do. I do feel like that looking back on them now that it's hard not to see the bumps in the paint as far as like, yeah, these games are okay and fun, but there's also stuff that's like, kind of messed up about them, like camera or like fidgety controls. I mean, you're talking to a guy who completed like every story route in Shadow the Hedgehog.
Oh gosh. I feel sorry for you.
Yeah, it's very pitiable. But yeah, Sonic Colors stands out to me among like the modern type of Sonic games is being a favorite. And finally, I had to narrow it down because I love the whole series, but I think Zelda Wind Waker is one of my favorite games of all time.
Nice.
Just because I remember being young, and I remember renting a copy of Ocarina of Time on the N64 and having no idea what it was. Had never played Zelda on Super Nintendo, had only heard about it, and I was just like, okay, this isn't like Mario 64. I'm confused. And when I saw the first few videos of Wind Waker, I guess probably at E3 or I was probably back on game trailers or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And I was like, okay, this looks like the kind of thing I'd love. So I think it was actually the first game I pre-ordered with my own money and got the bonus disc that had Ocarina of Time. So I played through that in preparation for Wind Waker. And I just fell in love with not only the style and the dungeons of Wind Waker, but that group of islands and that cast of characters like stands out so much. I think because of the art style, because of the writing, and it's actually one of the few games that like dares to give Link a personality outside of, he's the reincarnated hero. Like Link in the beginning of the Wind Waker is like this lazy kid who like can barely get out of bed on his own birthday.
Yeah.
And then his sister gets kidnapped and he switches into, okay, I'm going to rescue her. That's all I care about. And even after meeting this talking boat and these pirates and getting, thrown out of a tower by Ganon, he's like, yeah, but I'm going to save my sister. And finally, like, it's like a coming of age story in the best possible way of, by the end of it, he accepts this responsibility of being the hero. And it's the very end with the King of Hyrule and Ganon basically having this conversation of, we're the old men of this era and we've ruined the future for our children. Let's give it up and hopefully give them a chance to explore the world out of the ruins that we've created.
Some interesting parallels there.
Yeah, and Ganon's like, screw you guys, I want it.
Yeah. But Wind Waker is probably one of the most influential games I ever played. Like, I think that opened me up to being willing to try more like JRPGs and even games like Dark Souls, which also gets a special mention. I love the Dark Souls series so much, even though I've very recently played through all of them, but what another great, like, challenging series that asks you to do things that even if you've been playing games your whole life, like, that challenge you to think about it a different way.
Okay, I mention one thing though with Dark Souls? Dark Souls
Go for it.
Prepare to Die Edition, the Capra Demon, screw that guy and the place that he lives in.
It's so satisfying to beat that guy and then come down to the demon ruins where they're just regular enemies and just wipe the floor with them.
I know, and the Gaping Dragon was easy as heck once you learned that moveset. But
You go down there and you're like, yeah, you don't have your little puppy friends now in your tiny fighting arena.
I hated that place. It was like, you know what? He would have been easy without the dogs and the tiny, tiny little confined room he was in. Ugh.
But it's also one of those, it's like, okay, if you dare to fight this guy, you get an item that lets you access an area a little earlier. So it's like, rewards that daring.
I thought you had to fight him.
I think you might eventually, but it's one of those things where you can access the area like right away if you know what you're looking for.
Oh.
But yeah, that's what I like about those games. It rewards your patience and strategy
and daring.
And, oh yeah, it asks you to throw yourself into stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that'll do it for this episode of The Power Switch. We are hosted by rhymeswithasia.com, and we're on YouTube and Twitch at rhymeswithasia. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at The Power Switch. We are being hosted on Twitch here at @SAS_factory, where you can find Rachel to not only broadcast the show, but also to stream games.
Yep.
And you can email us any questions, concerns, comments, or opportunities at powerswitchpod@gmail.com. You can also subscribe to The Power Switch on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher. If you could leave a review, that would really help as well. But most importantly, to participate in future episodes, you should join our community on Discord by visiting rhymeswithasia.com/call. It's a small but growing community. In these early months of the show, it'll be easier than ever to have your voice heard on this podcast. Any YouTube videos to watch? One that caught my eye lately was Team 4-Star with their Cell Games, Cell Versus series, particularly Cell versus Ash Ketchum episode. They have a couple variations. One was with the Pokemon Bridged, the Elite 3 guys.
Guys.
With the Ash gonna be with this kind of voice. But also they had their Team 4-Star casting, and Grant, who some may know as Master WGS, did a pretty almost eerily spot on Brock for most of it. It's really impressive.
Did he have a drying pan?
Not a drying pan. He should have though. But yeah, they just also had their new episode out for episode 57 with a little more Hercule. So
that's a cat.
Yeah, it is. They're all over the place.
Any YouTube videos you guys recommend putting out there for people to watch this week?
I would recommend actually something from Jenna Marbles, which is she tried dog treats with her dogs a while ago. And it was amusing to watch, and it still is. And I think she's kind of funny. She's a little bit of like, I sort of take from her how I talk on video. So yeah, that's what I do.
She does. She had a video just recently with reading mean tweets about her dogs.
Oh,
I don't know
great.
if you saw that one. That one's really good too.
Mm-hmm.
Anything from you, Jeremy?
I actually did just see an artist I follow. He did a cover of one of the songs featured in Night of the Woods, and that's Andrew Stein. His YouTube is Mando Pony. He does he does like a arranged from the ground up cover of one of the songs in Night in the Woods and gives it vocals, and it's really good. Like he has a cool acoustic style, and it blends really well with that game. So yeah, check that out.
Very nice. Yeah, Mando Pony does good stuff for sure.
I had one more recommendation, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Video Game Donkey's Breath of the Wild is fantastic.
Yes, it is.
Oh, man. I need to look that up.
Yes, you do. It's brilliant.
It's the one where the...
he kills himself with the log.
Oh, well, that. I was thinking where the moblin attacking the cuckoos, and the cuckoos go after him. Like that's the video where that gif comes from.
Oh, man.
It's so good.
Super
Watch
good.
I remember my buddy Jake, when he was over here, showed me some of Donkey stuff, like the what was it? One of the zombie games where he screams at the person to take off their pants. That's a good watch. He's a funny guy.
He does good Dark Souls stuff too. Yeah,
he's good.
Yep.
But as far as you go, Jeremy, first, thank you so much for joining us. Always a delight to talk to you, for sure.
Absolutely, anytime.
I miss you.
Yeah, we definitely miss you. Where can people find you on the internet? Plug away.
Well, if you want to follow my Twitter, which has become a weird stream of consciousness, it's at GameBuddy, and I've also got in my Twitter lots of links to my projects and stuff I follow there. But yeah, that's pretty much the main one. I use Twitter, and if you can track down my Tumblr, you can find it. But yeah, you're gonna have to do some work with that one.
And check out Sonic F series on YouTube.
Oh yeah, it's still alive. In fact, he might. Yeah, I'm sure he won't mind. We're actually having a writers meeting this week about we're gonna plot out some new episodes for that.
Nice.
Very cool. And we'll have to get Luke on the show for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Sometime.
Yes.
Oh,
That'd be great. Yeah.
Yes, on the show and in our house and in the basement with the drinks.
Get them all drunk.
I'll get him drunk and get him on the channel. Oh, yes.
His
sure.
secrets.
Well, we're going to try to keep doing weekly episodes here on Saturdays at 3 p.m. Eastern. That seems to work pretty nicely. Also, if any game news comes up during the week, we'll try to have an episode then to kind of give sort of forum for people to discuss openly and react quickly about the news. So stay tuned to our Discord and our Twitter as that develops. Regardless, whether it's live or on your own time, I look forward to you joining us for our next episode. With that, I'm Peter Spezia.
And I'm Rachel Spezia.
Until next time, switch up, call in, game on.